3, 2, 1. Pick him.
Kirk Cousins.
No
shit.
Cause we way too high for you. Tripping like we got too much on. Feel like they got love for us. Cause we staying all night long. Yo, when we walk in the club, you better believe we know what's up. Got these girls all in a trance, throwing rhythm in the dance.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of the Bros and the Berg podcast. We thank you for joining us once again, or if this is your first time, welcome to this podcast. I am your co-host, Ryan Doyle, joined by my other co-host, Robbie Bergstone, and our ever-talented, ever-handsome executive producer, Connor Doyle, over there, head ass in the glasses.
Damn.
Gentlemen, it is fall. We are recording this on the 1st of October in the evening.
Spooky season.
Potentially the best month of professional sports in North America. I think a lot of people would agree with that. We got playoff baseball, basketball starting up, midseason football. A lot of things to be excited about, a lot of things to discuss. And I know we had an exciting and eventful weekend this last weekend. So, Connor, what are we starting off with today?
We're going to start off with what we always do. College football, and we are going to get into it.
The greatest sport to ever exist.
On God. So. NCAA 24 comes out next year, and I'm excited. I don't even care if it is Madden recreated. I just want the college rosters to be completely honest.
And we will be streaming that because we're all going to get it. We 100% will stream that. So
well, it's over the summer, so I mean, you know, we got some extra time on the weekend. Or I mean, I will at least.
We still work. Weekends. We don't get summer vacation anymore, Connor. We have full-time jobs.
But like for the kids at home, we're streaming too.
I understand.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to get into it. College football, the week 5 review. I'm going to go down here. The order that I'm seeing in ESPN. Hey y'all, it's Connor popping in here to let you know that the Bros and the Berg podcast has partnered with 310 Nutrition. 310 Nutrition wants to help customers improve their lives by providing proven solutions that fit their lifestyle. They encourage clean eating and want to help you in your healthy living journey with a variety of products from shake mixes, lemonade mixes, collagens, supplements, and much, much more. They have a 310 starter kit on their website that is currently available for $9, where you get 4 single-serving shakes, a shaker cup, a $10 gift card, a recipe book, a shake guide, and health coach consultation through their Facebook page. So go to 310nutrition.com to order that and use our promo code BROSANDTHEBERG at checkout for 25% off. All caps, one word. That's Bros and the BERG for 25% off your purchase. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. We did have a Friday night Pac-12 matchup this past week in which Oregon State took down Utah in a 21-7 affair. Obviously, the loss of Cam Rising really affecting Utah there. But, I mean, I think more of a defensive battle than I think people expected in a 21-7 game right there.
I'm still surprised Cam's not back. I didn't know that the severity of this injury was as long lasting as it's been. I mean, we were through week five games for the college football season.
Yep.
And I really think if he was back, Utah would be up there with the other 4 Pac-12 teams that are all of a sudden dominating the Big Ten or the top 10 rankings.
And it is really weird because I remember he was questionable for the Florida game. So it's like, okay, he's questionable for week 1. Like, he'll probably be back in a couple weeks. So he must have had some type of setback. I don't know what that was, but it definitely seems like something happened because he seemed like he should have been ready to go.
Yeah. It's a little bit interesting. Going down into the Saturday games now, we had Penn State taking care of business against Northwestern, just like we expected. One of the matchups of the weekend where Colorado tried their very, very best to mount a comeback against Caleb Williams and USC, but unfortunately to no avail, but still a much better and much more solid performance after kind of an embarrassing loss to Oregon. The game ended, USC won 48-41. Shedeur Sanders having a hell of a second half to try to get Colorado back in that game.
After the first quarter, I thought it was going to be a boat race again. I thought Colorado was going to get played out of their own stadium, but I mean, props to that team after getting blown out last weekend and be like, okay, shit, this could happen again, to actually like staying competitive throughout the whole game against that high-powered USC offense.
I mean, Shedeur played great, but let's not gloss over the fact that Caleb Williams had 6 touchdowns in this football game. Yep. I mean, and you know, Colorado obviously made it close to the end. I don't think the final score is very indicative of how close the game was. They played great to get back in it, but USC was in control for a good portion of this game. And right now, I mean, Caleb Williams, I think is still your favorite for the Heisman at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Looking to become the second player ever to win 2 of those awards. I think he has some tough competition, mostly from his own conference for the award currently, but he played great. USC defense is still a mess. Why Lincoln Riley still has Alex Grinch as his defensive coordinator makes no sense to me. But played well enough to get this win. I think they're going to struggle when they have to run into Washington or Oregon down the road.
And our first top 25 upset of the weekend, Kentucky taking down Florida 33-14. Boys, is anyone in the SEC any good this year?
Well,
it seems like nobody is any.
We knew Florida was bad.
I mean, I knew, yeah. The SEC sucks.
I forgot that like Kentucky has had Florida's number here recently after like not beating them for like forever, and like the last couple of years has had their number. So good for the Wildcats. They have a tough matchup this weekend. Well, actually, maybe not as tough as it looked initially.
Between the hedges.
We'll get to see if they're. Yep, we'll get to see if they're for real this weekend, because they are still sitting at 5-0. So
there you go. Another weak SEC performance with Georgia narrowly beating Auburn 27-20. I thought it was a little spooky after the first half there for a second.
And I saw some people saying no, it's Auburn at home, Jordan Hare voodoo, which like is definitely a thing. But Georgia, like this is a bad Auburn team. Like this is not a very good Auburn team, and they got kind of ran all over. So obviously Brock Bowers putting the team on his back there at the end of the game. But I was very surprised to see this game this close, even being in Auburn.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is a stud. He had 2 catches, I believe, there in the fourth quarter. 2 back-to-back one-handed catches. One was called back for like illegal man downfield or something like that. But this is
his touchdown.
Yeah, he's nuts. This is not the same Georgia team that we've seen. Struggling in back-to-back SEC games is not a good look, especially teams that aren't ranked. So having a confident Kentucky, I know they're going to be in Athens, but having a confident Kentucky coming in next week, I think will be a really good game.
Going down the list in terms of the 8 people here, Michigan taking care of business against Nebraska 45-7. Michigan has looked solid and pretty good all season.
That was their first cover of the year. I will say that.
Interesting.
So they haven't been able to cover against any of these teams. There are some.
Scores have been like 3 scores though, mostly.
Yeah, I mean, but they've been played shit. Like they're not covering the 40-point spreads against like some of these like dog ass teams. The Big Ten was just kind of ugly this week. I mean, there's a lot of
the Big Ten is also not very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem. Will Nebraska ever be back? I mean, they'll never get back to where they were in the 90s, obviously, but like, will they ever be competitive again?
It's like the Dallas Cowboys.
My parents were up this weekend and we watched this game for a little bit. For the little bit of background, my dad, Connor and I's dad, played Big 12 football in the 80s, so he got to see Nebraska really, as one of the best teams in the country. And he's just sitting there shaking his head just how far that program has fallen. I mean, I don't even know how many games their sellout streak was. I remember that was like a big like news story a couple of years ago that they were still selling out stadiums, like going like 2-10 and shit like that. So they have like a super faithful base, but like, I mean, good Lord, so you can only be bad for so long as a blue blood and have the people still stay with you.
And as I think a lot of their, issues is the way the game has changed. I don't think there's a lot of athletes coming out of Nebraska. I could be completely wrong here, but I don't think there's a lot of athletes. A lot of big guys, up front you can get, and that was obviously great in the 80s and 90s. But now, I mean, I just don't think they're pulling in the talent that they need to compete with the Michigans and Ohio States in the Big Ten.
The old man's opinion in that matter was the move from the Big 12 to the Big 10 hurt them from being able to recruit from Texas pipeline.
For sure. Yeah.
That's his biggest opinion. It's like they move into they're in the same region, but they move into a new conference and don't have like the roots set up to be recruiting in that new conference. And they're just struggling to get all the scraps from everywhere else.
And they've had, they had in their mind, we're going to return to this dynasty that we had in the 90s where we're winning all these games under Tom Osborne. And they've ran a couple of good coaches out of town. We're putting up 8-4, 9-3 seasons, but they wanted to get back to that national championship. And now you're saying, well, maybe 8-4, 9-3 wasn't so bad. I mean, you ran Bo Pelini out of town, you ran Mike Riley out of town, and now you have Matt Rule. But obviously, Matt Rule has turned around some programs, so they'll give him some time. But I mean, sometimes you got to appreciate what you have when you have it.
Yeah, the Panthers somehow got worse after Rule left. Thoughts on that, Rob?
I don't. We'll get there. I'm sure we'll get there.
Actually, I just wanted to put that little seedling in your mind for the next half hour before we get to the NFL.
It's a new system. We'll figure it out. It's fine.
Absolutely.
I didn't watch the game today at all because I don't want to put myself through that.
And that's why your mental health is so good for the podcast right now.
I feel great right now, guys. Feeling good.
Nebraska's fans just switched over from football to women's volleyball.
Damn right.
They did have the most viewed female sporting event ever. So there you
go. They're really similar to Alabama where they don't have any pro teams. So like Nebraska is the team, right? They don't have anyone else to cheer for. So
yeah. Moving down the list here, a Big 12 matchup between number 3 Texas and number 24 Kansas. Texas handedly taking care of business, 42-14.
This game, and we watched a decent amount of this. This game was very close up until like halfway through the third quarter, and I think if Kansas's quarterback starts, because he was a very, very late scratch, they scratched him like an hour before the game kicked. I think if Kansas's quarterback is there, this is a completely different ball game. I think Kansas is better, and I think Kansas will catch potentially like one of the better Big 12 teams like OU or K-State or something.
100%. Yeah.
So
I can see that.
I think they're potentially the third best Big 12 team right now.
Don't think that's a terrible take to me. I mean, the Big 12 is bad, except for Texas right now. Moving down the list here, Missouri beating Vanderbilt in the SEC matchup 38-21. And please tell me that everyone who betted on this next game hammered the over with Ole Miss and LSU. Ole Miss winning at 55-49.
Just zero defense played in this game. It was actually insane.
I think there was 1,400 yards.
Oh, jeez.
If you don't like that, you don't like watching Pete Golding be your defensive coordinator, because at Alabama we saw this happen many a time.
Yeah.
Golly.
But we just had the offense to actually do something.
Brian Kelly, LSU experiment still. I mean, I know they made the SEC championship last year, but they were 9-3 going into that game. I mean, that's not the standard that LSU is gonna appreciate for too much longer. I mean, obviously he's fine for right now, but they gotta turn it around.
Yeah. Moving on here, Oregon continuing their solid campaign over Stanford, 42-6. Not that we thought Stanford was going to be much of an obstacle, but nonetheless,
Stanford was up 3-0 at one point in this game.
There you go.
So
that was
moral victories.
Number 14 Oklahoma beats a Big 12 opponent Iowa State 50-20 in a game where they didn't seem to struggle too much.
Red River Shootout's gonna be fun next week.
I'm very interested. I think I guess we'll talk about it. Moving on here, another top 25 matchup between Notre Dame and Duke, with Notre Dame pulling it out 21-14 against the Blue Devils.
Duke should have won this game.
Yes, they should have.
This was one of the few games I got to watch a good amount of on Saturday, and prevent defense loses another football game. I mean, I feel like you see it all the time, long fourth or third down play, and you play prevent defense. You don't have anyone spying the quarterback, you don't have anyone on the running back. You're just playing deep and they get it. I cannot believe they let him get that first down. Feel really bad for the Duke quarterback. I don't know if there's been any news about what happened to his ankle, but it couldn't have been good.
He has a high ankle sprain as of right now.
That's all?
He apparently did not break anything. No ligaments. Like obviously,
wow.
A high ankle sprain can be as bad as it breaks sometimes. With how bad he got rolled up on, I'm sure this one's going to be a multi-week recovery. But I could not believe that 4th and 16 they gave that much cushion. And I will say Duke's D-line was getting after it. I have never seen it like a non-blue blood team front line go up against someone like Notre Dame, who's known for having one of the best offensive line programs in the country. And they were getting whooped in the fourth quarter. It was actually crazy to watch.
The crazy thing about that play, too, is they were just talking about the play before about how good Duke's blitz had been all night. And they just sacked him the play before. And then they decided to drop back and play coverage. It's like, you got to stick with what's working with you. I get it's 4th and 16. Maybe you don't bring 6 guys, but you got to at least bring 4 or 5. I couldn't believe they only brought 3. That's a game Duke's going to look back on and be shocked they didn't win because they had every opportunity to.
Just a gut punch, especially when you're like, man, we could potentially win be in the conversation to win the ACC this year.
100%. I mean, I don't think Florida State's unbeatable. Duke could definitely take them in the ACC championship game. Obviously this is luckily not a conference matchup, even though it kind of is. Yeah. Will not affect the ACC record, but yeah, just a tough loss for the Blue Devils.
Moving to another SEC matchup. I don't know why I said another. That wasn't SEC. Moving to an SEC matchup. South Carolina losing to Tennessee 41-20. The game guys continue to fall down the SEC standings. Number 12, Alabama beating Mississippi State 40-17. The Crimson Tide getting back on track there. What do you guys think of this past game?
Our defense has a firm grip now. I think scheme-wise, personnel-wise, we've actually started to really figure it out. That was against an experienced SEC quarterback, probably the longest tenured current SEC quarterback.
I think he's third all-time in yards right now.
Yes, he's been there forever. He's like some ridiculous amount of starts for Mississippi State. Obviously, talent-wise, they were a little bit outmatched. On the offensive side of the ball, I think Milroe had like 5 pass attempts in the first half. Just so much running the ball. And I'm not sure if a lot of that was just like a lack of confidence in him or just like wanting to really establish the ground game and just knowing that Mississippi State couldn't do anything to really stop it. I don't know. But when he made throws, especially in the second half, he actually looked really comfortable. I didn't see him have a bad throw all night.
He can make every throw you need him to make. It's just the mental confidence and the making the right decisions that he struggles with. I mean, as a quarterback, he can make all the throws. He doesn't have the best mechanic, but he can make the throws. You just got to get him in a rhythm. I think that was the idea behind running the ball so much. He also had 2 really bad sacks on the first drive, and then started to figure that out. But I mean, he only had 2 incompletions, and one of them he had a defender at his ankles because we missed a block. I mean, he took care of the ball, made good throws. I think he's starting to figure out he doesn't have to do a whole lot right now. He just has to take care of the ball and make big throws when you need them. So hopefully the confidence is boosted after that game.
That was the Tide's 16th straight win against Mississippi State. An easy cover for the fellas in Stark Vegas.
Will Rogers had that like Sam Darnold seeing ghosts look on his face on the sideline. I mean, the dude was just not in the game at all. And like they showed his stats against Alabama over, like, I think he's played us 4 times now. And I mean, he like averages like 2 picks a game, like hadn't thrown a touchdown. He has a mental block against Alabama. Maybe that or Saban just has his number.
And I was so happy to see Saban just chewing dudes out in the first quarter after just some like bonehead mental mistakes. It made my heart happy.
Yeah. Apparently Miss Terry told him to get on them.
Hell yeah, Miss Terry.
Miss Terry was like, why are you just like sitting on the sidelines? Like light a fire under someone's ass. Let's get after him. And he did that for the first time this year.
2 more top 25 matchups to go through. Number 25, Fresno State takes care of business against Nevada at 27-9. So
fun fact, these were the teams in FBS that had the longest winning and longest losing streaks going against each other.
Oh, very fun.
That's funny.
I think this was Fresno State's 15th straight win. Now they are ranked in the top 25. And this was Nevada's like 13th or 14th straight loss. But Nevada covered. Good for
good for the Wolfpack. We'll talk about Fresno State a little bit later on too, because they have an interesting matchup this week that we'll discuss here later in the podcast. But
moving into the last top 25 matchup, Washington narrowly defeating Arizona in a game 31-24 in a game where Michael Penix threw for 40 times without a touchdown. So that's kind of interesting.
It's not good for the Heisman.
Somebody on game day called this one would be a little spookier than people would think.
Arizona has been really bad, but they are slowly getting better. I mean, that was a program that needed completely rebuilt, and I think they're starting to figure it out. Obviously, I mean, they're not competing for the Pac-12 anytime soon, but are at least starting to be competitive again.
Did y'all see Ken Jeong on game day?
Yes.
I can't remember what he said. Corso picked Duke in the game. It was like Duke and Notre Dame. And he said something. I can't remember what it was. It was something like, "Thank you, sweetheart." I can't remember what he said.
Like I love that he's like the like figurehead for like Duke alums. Like every time there's something's going on at Duke sports wise, it's always Kim Jong. There's like the guy there. Like
he loves it. I mean, he's like the biggest Duke fan. Like he's there for it. He gives all like the Duke nerds a good look. That it's like, oh, I'm funny. I have social skills.
Exactly. So yeah, that is kind of the review of this past week, and specifically the top 25 matchups. So we are going to get into this next week. I'm going to preview a little bit.
Gotta have a couple notes about some non-top 25 matchups. I just had one that immediately came to mind. Shout out to the Baylor Bears.
Oh yeah,
down 35-7.
Crazy game.
At some point in the third quarter, I didn't see the exact time, to storm back in enemy territory. They were playing UCF to win 36-35. Absolutely insane comeback for the Bears, who are having a pretty down bad season after getting boat raced by Texas last week.
Update on the Iowa Hawkeyes too. So they only scored 26 against Michigan State. They did pull out the win, but their offensive coordinator is officially on fire watch. I think that they have to average 30 something points the rest of the season for him to hit his goal of 25 points a game.
It's not happening. McNamara was carted off with that left leg injury.
Correct.
In the game.
So Iowa fans, good news. You will have a new offensive coordinator next year. Congrats. It can't get much worse. So we're excited for you.
Yeah,
exactly. So we're going to move into the next thing here. We're going to move into our preview of Week 6, and the way that we do that is by doing a little pick'em that Robbie runs. He selects the game for us, and then we all pick them, and then we post it on the Instagram, and we post our records and stuff. Robbie continues to kick our ass, but this past week, I believe Ryan and I actually defeated Robbie, which is
you picked up a game on me. That's right. Both of my redheaded friends here had 3-2 records last week. Ryan coming in at 12-13 on the year. Connor just a game ahead of him at 13-12. I had my first losing week of the year. Coming in at 2-3 last week. Overall, we're 19-6 on the year, because the week we didn't do the podcast, I went 5-0 because I'm him. So we are getting into this week's pick'em games, and the first one
doesn't count, right? So because it wasn't on the,
it does count. You should have posted it on the social media, but you didn't. So
it doesn't count because.
Simply doesn't
I don't agree. First game up, the game of the weekend probably. I think this is the biggest matchup of this upcoming weekend. We got the Red River showdown, whatever they're calling it now. I don't really can't keep track of it.
The last Big 12 Red River shootout.
The All-State Red River rivalry is what it's apparently officially labeled at.
Red River shootout it is. We have Oklahoma and Texas playing this weekend in Dallas. Texas is favored by 4.5 points. Who wants to take this one first?
I think Connor should take this one first.
Obviously, this is a game of lots and lots of history. We've seen some crazy happenings from this game, and specifically in the last decade. It's usually the best Big 12 game of the year, or at least the one with the most stakes attached to it, because you know historically OU and UT have been kind of the best teams in the Big 12. I remember 2 years ago, whenever UT on the very first play, there was a wide receiver screen, and it was a touchdown the very first play of the game, and they thought they were going to smoke them, and then it was like a 48-45 OU comeback. So we've gotten used to games like that. I don't think it's going to be that way this weekend, gentlemen. Not to say that this will be a blowout. I don't think so, but I think that UT Austin, Texas, handedly wins this game. And I think that they remain in control the entire time. I don't think there's ever a moment where it gets spooky for them. I would predict that the Longhorns win by about 14-17. Probably be up about a touchdown the whole game, and then the fourth quarter tack on an extra score. So that's what I'm going to say.
Fellas, I have a fun fact for you about this game. This is the first undefeated Red River shootout since 2011.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while.
Two teams have not come in undefeated into this game in a long time, which is surprising because they do usually play it pretty early in the season. Mm-hmm. I agree with Connor. I do think Texas is going to win this game. I do think there's a chance it ends up being a one-score game, just rivalry attached. I don't think Oklahoma is horrible. I do think Texas is the better team. I do see Texas winning this game, but maybe not as handily as Connor is saying. Is he going to do it?
So on the series, Texas leads this 63-50-5 all time. There's been a lot of games played. 118 to be specific. And last year, Texas beat the ever-living piss out of Oklahoma, 49-0. That's as bad of a blowout that this game has, as bad of a skunking that this rivalry has ever seen.
Bijan put his nuts on OU's forehead.
Correct.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was bad.
Inserted.
What?
That will not be the case this year. But Oklahoma does not have enough firepower to get it done. I think 17 is an incredulous line out of Connor. I think this is an incredibly close game. I think OU comes with all the emotion that Texas can handle. This will be Texas's best game or most competitive game that they have to play all year. I think Texas by a field goal with the current line at -5. Over under is 59.5.
it went up.
I think OU
Over.
covers, and I think the over hits. Yeah,
Over.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw the
I see like a
Euro last year, and I'm like, man, there's just no better fuel for the fire. I just think Texas is just better this year again.
I could see like a nice like 38-34, like 38-31 type of game. I think there's gonna be a lot of points in this one.
I would agree.
There you go.
The next game up, we talked about both these teams earlier. LSU coming off a tough loss to Ole Miss, a game they also really had a really good chance of winning this game. They're up 9 at one point with just a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss stormed back. They're visiting the Missouri Tigers in Columbia. This is Missouri's first big prove-it game of the year. Their schedule, obviously, they beat K-State. Really their only big win so far this year. LSU is currently favored by 6.5. So, Brian, why don't you take this one first?
This is a tough one. I know this is an emotional game for LSU after coming off a pretty heartbreaking loss, getting the field stormed against Ole Miss. Mizzou has played better than people have thought. I think they've actually impressed a lot. I still think LSU just out talents them on both sides of the ball. I think LSU's quarterback Jaden McDaniels has a better game, and I think LSU wins by 1 to 2 scores.
Robbie, can I be honest with you?
Yeah, what's up?
This game is disgusting. This game is gross.
Why is it disgusting, Connor? Tell me about it.
I really don't want to pick this game because I think both of these teams are not that good, to be completely honest. I mean, I remember us talking about early in the season when we talked about the LSU-Florida State matchup that I said, and granted, it didn't really happen in that game, but I said I thought one of these two teams would be exposed as frauds. And as the season has progressed, I think LSU is kind of fitting the bill a little bit. You know, if the shoe fits, if the boot fits, not the shoe, dumbass. So,
very well.
In light of that, I'm with Ryan, man. I don't see Missouri having the talent. They barely beat a K-State team that has, I think, performed a lot worse this season than people expected them coming into the season. I think most people thought that K-State would easily be the second best team in the Big 12 when we came into the season behind Texas. I don't think they have performed as such so far. And Missouri barely beat that team. I think LSU has 2 good losses on their resume. I mean, if we're being honest, like obviously it was a shootout against Ole Miss and barely lost, and Florida State's obviously kind of rolling even after the slightly struggle win against Clemson. So I agree with Ryan. I think LSU has too much talent compared to Missouri, so I'm going to go with LSU.
Not so fast.
Oh man, he hit us with it.
I knew he was going with
Missouri. Missouri has not played an overly tough schedule so far,
Yep.
but they have won all of their games. They're at home. I think they're going to be fired up. Obviously, they've not gotten to play LSU a whole lot being in the other division. I don't know the last time they hosted them. I think it's going to be rocking. Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden last week, 11 catches, 140 yards, 2 tutties. I mean, that's a fucking stat line right there, boys. I think Mizzou gets it done. I think it's really close. I think it comes down to the wire. Something about LSU with Brian Kelly has just not been right. I don't know if it is the culture fit. I don't know what's going on, but something about that team is just not quite right, and they seem to always find a game to lose that no one expects. I think it's going to be this one. Give me the Tigers. The other Tigers.
Got some Tiger on Tiger crime this weekend.
Tiger on Tiger crime. All right, next game up. We have a game we've alluded to a couple times so far. The Kentucky Wildcats visiting the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens. Between the hedges, currently UGA is favored by 15 points. I'll go first since I haven't picked yet. It pains me to pick them because they're not. Georgia to me has looked awful this year.
Yep.
And it's going to piss me off when they go undefeated because they literally don't play anybody. But I think they're too much for Kentucky. I think it'll be a close one. I think Kentucky has some success running the ball against Georgia, which we have not seen a lot recently, but I think they went for over 200 yards running the ball in the first half against Florida last week. Low scoring affair, but Georgia I think does end up pulling it out in the end.
I want to disagree.
I want to take Kentucky so bad. I really want
I have multiple times on this podcast this season taken the other team that I just wanted them to win, regardless of what it did to my record as I'm sitting at 12-13, like taking Clemson over Florida State. I didn't think it was actually going to happen, but maybe if I spoke it into existence, I could gaslight those teams into playing how I wanted. That being said, I just don't think it's Kentucky's year quite yet. They have a chance, and this is actually something I feel a little bit more confident in, to finish second in that division of the SEC.
Yep.
Tennessee's not looked great. Florida's obviously not looked great. I think Kentucky is the second best team potentially in the Eastern Division. But Georgia will pull this out at home, and I'll be sad watching it.
You've been a big Kentucky guy for the last couple of years now.
Because
you thought they were going to finish second in the division last year as well.
Yeah. That was me coping with how good Tennessee was mostly.
Yeah,
same. It was a cope pick. I'll admit that.
I also very much want to disagree with the Georgia take. Unfortunately, I cannot. Unfortunately, I do have to go with Georgia. Kirby Smart. He finds a way to win games, man. I mean, he's only lost one game in the past 2 years to a hench Alabama team. So, I mean, I don't think Kentucky, unfortunately, is going to overcome that winning streak there. I will say, though, I do think after this week, and especially after Michigan's very good performance against Nebraska, not that Nebraska is an impressive win by any means, but I do think that Georgia will most likely drop to number 2 in the AP poll. I think Michigan might jump them from this last game.
I don't think they did today.
They did not. So
they didn't today?
No. Georgia's received so there are 5 teams receiving first place votes, and we'll go through that real quick right. for our listeners. I don't know if we have this scheduled later in the podcast, Connor, but
you can do it now.
We'll go through the top 10 real quick. But Georgia's receiving 35% of the vote, 35 votes in first place currently. Michigan received 12 votes second. Texas received 10 votes in third. So they've made up some ground. Texas is very, very close to leapfrogging Michigan. Ohio State received 1 vote in fourth. Florida State received 4 votes in fifth. Got a lot of Florida State fans smoking that good down there, trying to catapult them into first.
Ohio State sucks.
We'll get there.
I don't know how they beat Notre Dame. I don't know how they beat
Penn State at 6, Washington at 7, Oregon up 1 to 8, USC down 1 to 9, and Notre Dame up 1 to 10 to round out the old top 10. Not a whole lot of movement.
Crazy. Yeah. There's still only one SEC team in the top 10. It was like that last week. I can't imagine the last time it was like that. It's crazy.
The biggest faller is LSU, dropping from 13 to 23, down 10 spots. Florida and Kansas both dropped out of the top 25. And the 2 new additions to the top 25 are Kentucky at 20 after beating Florida, and Louisville Cardinals making their top 25 appearance, as we will talk about their game here in a couple of minutes, at 25 with their 5-0 record.
I think it is correct to leave LSU in the top 25, even with 2 losses. I think they are still a top 25 team. I think that was
it's not like they were 2 bad losses.
I mean, that's what I mean.
No, it just kind of is what it is. So,
all right, 4th game, Robbie.
Just an excellent transition there by Ryan. We have Notre Dame visiting the newly ranked Louisville Cardinals. Notre Dame is favored by 6.5 on the road. We'll swing it back to Connor to pick first this time.
As Robbie said, Notre Dame should not have lost that game to Ohio State. And I think a lot of people are in agreement with that. I mean, it was heavily publicized, and the coach was talking about it in the press, how Notre Dame had 10 players on that last play. They didn't even have 11 players on the field on the last play when Ohio State ran that run play for the touchdown. And it was funny because the guy that was supposed to be in that spot would have literally been right where the run went. I mean, obviously Ohio State drew it up that way because there wasn't anybody there. But it was kind of funny and interesting to see that. I think Notre Dame is a good team. I've been saying this since I saw them against Navy, even though Navy is awful. Notre Dame from the beginning of the season looked like a very complete team to me, both on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. I think they operate very well together. I think that they will beat Louisville this weekend.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Louisville in the top 25. It's been a really rough time for the program since Lamar Jackson.
They were great.
So it's great to see them back. Unfortunately, they are pretty outgunned in this game. They beat or NC State by 3 last week. Struggled a little bit against Indiana a couple weeks before that, who we saw get blown out this week. So I expect Notre Dame to win by a couple scores. The line's actually only 6.5. So Vegas definitely has some more respect for the Louisville Cardinals than I think a lot of bettors might have. But I expect that stadium to be rocking, as this is definitely their biggest game of the year. So, but I do take Notre Dame probably by 2 touchdowns.
I'm going to agree with my co-host here. I have picked against Notre Dame the last 2 weeks. I have not been a believer. Almost worked out both times, but
Yeah.
I do think they're better than Louisville. I think they've had 2 really high stakes emotional games that one they pulled out, one they didn't. I think they play a lot better this week, and I do think they get a comfortable win finally that they've been searching for here for a little bit. The last game this week. This is a fun one, guys.
Here we go.
This is a fun,
And
fun
then
Mountain
we
West
got to talk
showdown.
about each of our games. But yes, this is the last.
Yeah,
on the
I didn't put Alabama in there because I just simply don't believe any of us are going to pick A&M to beat Alabama.
We'll just talk about them. I'm not going to be the
Not
pick 'em.
so fat.
I kind of want to pick the OSU game.
No.
But we have Fresno State. We talked about them earlier. Got a nice win against Nevada last week, longest winning streak in the country. Visiting Wyoming in Laramie this weekend. A nice late kick for you. Fresno State's favored by 6 on the road. Ryan, who you got?
It's Fresno State's year, baby. Just like it's Bo Nix time, it's Fresno State's time.
It's Fresno State
season, baby.
It's that time. Best team in the division. They're going to continue that on the road. Don't really care. Wyoming actually had a pretty impressive game against Texas earlier in the year. I don't think it really matters. I think Fresno State keeps the momentum going and wins probably by about 10 points.
Robbie.
God, he wants to know.
I agree.
Not so fast, me. So
I
hard.
want to so bad. I think Wyoming can be a pretty tough place to play. High altitude, a little bit different environment for sure. They obviously had a really close game with Texas Tech earlier in the year where they came into Laramie, struggled a little bit, did pull it out. Like Ryan said, though, I think Fresno State is far and away the best team in the Mountain West this year. I think it'll be a tight one. I think it'll be another really close game. I'm not sure they cover 6. I could see it being a field goal. But I do think Fresno State pulls this one out on the road.
Not so
There you go, Connor.
fast.
There it is.
Get that in there.
He was really hoping I wouldn't do it because he wanted to do it to me. Yeah.
I am going with Wyoming. My rationale is I have none. And typically I come into these and I'm very prepared with I'll know what upsets I'm picking and I'll know which spreads I feel comfortable with. This time I'm kind of this is honestly a coin flip game to me, and given that I feel like I need to pick an upset this weekend, and so I'm going with Wyoming to upset Fresno State.
That is the first pick you guys had that is different, so that's good too. Someone needed to make a different pick.
Say that I don't think that's not to say I want Fresno State to lose, because they're obviously it's like a Cinderella story, underdog. That's always a fun kind of story to play out. But just for differential sake, I'm going to go with Wyoming this weekend.
Big New Year's 6 implications here as well, probably for Fresno State. Right now, I think they would be the one to get into the New Year's 6, so need this one for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for going through that, Robbie. Thank you for going through the pick'em.
Do any other games you want to mention? Obviously, you need to talk about Alabama. Visiting Texas A&M, correct? I think we're in. Yes. No, we're home. Oh, thank God.
You remember what happened?
I was shaking my head because we are in Kyle Field.
Oh yeah, I was thinking we were in Kyle Field. Okay, that's what I thought.
That's called a classic butthole pucker for the fellas. Don't love playing in Kyle Field.
Only favored by 3 right now.
Oh, yikes! That's scary.
Yeah. 3.5. What my book has.
That could be a scary game, gentlemen.
It is going to be. That could be. It's going to be a scary game.
I think our defense plays well enough for us to win most of these games. I don't see A&M scoring more than 20 points on us. It's more, can our offense do something?
50 feels like too many for the over-under. No, this feels like an under to me. I think
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tight. I think both teams probably end up 27-20, 23-20, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely see that. Ryan, do we have to talk about Oklahoma State?
Talk about the Pokes, baby. Kind of what's that matchup for us? Paint us a picture.
It's this Friday, our first and only Friday game of the year. It'll be this Friday at 6 p.m. And it's also our blackout game. So that'll unfortunately, we probably won't be a packed out house because we have not been a very solid team this year. But we are going to host the Kansas State Wildcats here in Stillwater, Oklahoma at 6 p.m. this Friday. We're going to lose. Like, we're not beating Kansas State.
Vegas agrees.
They do. You're
even
11-point dogs.
12.
Even with the personal vendetta of arguably the most embarrassing loss in school history last year, 48-0 against Kansas State last year. Even though the Kansas State team was good, I think that was probably I think that was worse than the South Alabama loss. And I know that's saying a lot, but I think
that debate.
I think that had real program implications, like to where it's like kids transferred out and kids don't want to be recruited. I don't know. It's close between the two, but I think getting shut out is just yikes.
That's tough.
It's just tough. So unfortunately, as much as I'm going to cheer my absolute heart for my school and be there and march on the field and do everything I can to ensure the Pokes' victory, I do believe that Kansas State outmatches us a little bit in terms of ability and firepower. So I do think that Kansas State will take it this Friday.
K-State averages like 500 yards a game, and they haven't scored less than 40 points this season.
Yeah,
I think they hang
secondary
40 on OK State pretty handily. I actually kind of like K-State to cover here.
Our secondary Iowa State torched our secondary.
That's a tough look.
Like torched. Like it was Robbie. It was so bad. I was there in person. They seat us like right on the field, like the pep band that they took. Oh, I got to watch every single time that one of our safeties just refused to pick up someone going deep. So that was entertaining.
Another fun Big 12 matchup this weekend. We got UCF visiting Kansas. That could be a good time for first Big 12 road game for UCF, I believe. So that's fun.
Yeah. I'm taking Kansas. I'm going to take Kansas in that one.
Correct.
So was that it for the other games that we wanted to kind of look at?
Yeah, all the other AP Top 25 games are kind of mid. Some
kind of mid.
Maryland visiting Ohio State. Can Talia do enough to make that a game? We'll see.
They beat the brakes off of Indiana.
Indiana's
Maryland's not bad this year. I'm actually surprised they spotted Ohio State 18.5 there. Washington State is actually an underdog on the road playing UCLA this weekend. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
UCLA, according to ESPN, has a 67% chance to win.
Bro, the Cougs are disrespected.
Disrespected.
Continue to be. We're going to get into the next segment, move away from college football here. We're going to play a little game, gentlemen. One of us is going to count the other two down, and basically when the countdown is finished, we're going to say an athlete's name, and you have to keep going until you say the same athlete's name. So it's just a little fun game, and we're going to see how well we do, how connected our brains are. So do you two want to go first? I'll count you down and you say the same.
No, we'll go first. All
right. I'll give you 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Patrick Mahomes.
Brian Scalabrine.
Okay. Well,
all right. It was Patrick Mahomes and Brian Scalabrine. So
I had that one locked up.
Fuck, do we get back to the middle, brother?
we're in the wrong sport.
Yeah, that's just not good. I'm gonna take another shot in the dark, and we'll just see where it lands.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Shohei Ohtani.
Tim Duncan.
Okay.
What did you say, Robbie?
Tim Duncan.
He expected me to go to the NBA. No. I said, let's just go to a different sport, and he said,
well, so my thought was like Mahomes is from Texas. That was the entire.
Oh, I didn't have any thought process. I just picked another famous athlete.
All right, let's keep going.
Hold on. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Jason Tatum.
Matt Ryan.
Okay.
This is one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen of this game.
I was completely we went too fast. I was not ready. I had nothing in my head.
We are still not in the same sport.
Nothing in my what name did you just say?
You said Jason Tatum.
Oh heavens! All right.
All right, we ready? Do we have something?
Yeah, sure. Fuck it.
All right,
All right, I'm
3,
ready.
2, 1.
Tim
Tom
Hardaway
Brady.
Jr.
Guys, what is happening?
I tried to stay in the same sport.
I went to the NBA. That's what your first two were. I'm gonna have a stroke.
We're gonna keep going. All right, what do we say? Cap it at 10. Cap it at 10 rounds. So
There's no way we're getting there. There's simply no way.
We'll cap it at 10. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Nikola Jokic.
Dennis Smith Jr. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Dennis
we're in
Smith Jr.
Yeah, we're in the same sport.
Yes, Jay. Okay. Yeah.
Because that's Tim Hardaway Jr. That was the jump there. That was the jump.
Okay.
All
Hold on.
3,
Nikola Jokic.
Hold on.
And Dennis Smith
My bad.
Jr. Okay. All right. I got one.
I don't. Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Luka
Michael
Doncic.
Porter Jr.
Okay.
Okay.
I tried to stay on the junior thing.
Yeah,
but
I
he
did
plays
too, and I
with
couldn't
Nikola
think of one.
Jokic.
I literally would have done that if I could have thought of one off the
Right,
spot.
Luka
Connor's going
and
fast.
My bad.
Yeah.
So that was
Luka
7.
Luka and MPJ.
All right. So I'll give you 3 more rounds to try to get to it.
Who does MPJ
All right.
play for right now?
Nuggets.
The
Oh
Nuggets.
fuck. Okay, that would have been good.
Don't go Nuggets. Don't go Nuggets.
Oh, okay. Whoa. What is it?
Table talk.
All right. Ready?
No.
3, 2, 1.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Kyrie Irving. Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Kristaps. Okay. Kristaps is a Celtic.
Yep. Kyrie was also a Celtic at one point.
That's crazy. What a coincidence.
Okay. All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Jaylen
Brown. Yeah, we got there.
I know fucking
Sir,
table
got
talk. We're
there.
talking about the Celtics.
Yeah, exactly.
The one
We'll let it slide,
player
we'll let it
that
slide.
both Kristaps and Kyrie probably played with.
Yeah, true.
That was fucking
That's very
awful.
true.
Well,
Who wants to
we
know?
probably need to like pick a sport next time. Like I think being like
Fuck it.
any
No,
athlete
it's
is
too easy.
abysmal.
That's
All
so
right.
easy.
All right.
All right. Who's going? Robbie, you want to go with me? You want to see where we
Sure.
get to?
Yeah, let's see
All
what
right.
happens.
All right, Ryan.
Hold on, let me think of someone.
3, 2, 1. Kick him.
Cam Newton.
Brett Favre. Okay. Well,
I
got out of that era, to be
to get
honest.
taken. That's what I was thinking.
All right.
you said Cam Newton.
I said Cam Newton. Yep.
Ah, shit. It's a little too young. 3, 2, 1. Pick.
Rex
Russell
Grossman.
Wilson.
There's no shot you said Rex Grossman.
What the hell was that?
That's a throw pick.
What the hell was that?
I actually give Connor props
Who?
for the Russ. The Russ wasn't bad.
I didn't have Rex in my brain at all. I just had sexy Rexy on the
Sexy
brain.
Rexy.
Sexy Rexy's on the brain, man.
There's no way you pick the third best Bears quarterback of all time.
Okay, now I'm like I don't know where we're at.
That does give me an idea.
I've got nowhere.
No, this is what I said. All right, 3, 2, 1. Pick him.
Jay Cutler.
There it is.
Oh, damn it!
Because he said Bears quarterbacks. He
Bears.
also played for the Broncos at one
Wait,
point.
you said
That
he was on the team that Russ is currently on.
He
Was on the
Broncos
sorry,
quarterback.
sorry.
He
Sorry,
played
my
for the
bad.
Broncos.
I
Yeah.
know. I always think of him as a Bears quarterback.
You said Elway?
Best
Okay.
Bears quarterback, which is the most depressing fact I've thought about today.
I mean, at this point, it's a complete. Robbie, look at me. Look at me. You know who I'm going with. Like, you know who I'm going with right now. Like, it's a lock 100p. You know what's happening right now.
All right. I'm ready.
All right,
I'm ready. Yep. All right.
3, 2, 1. Pick him.
Kirk Cousins.
No
Yes.
Yes. Elite.
This dude, he's like, look at me. Look at me.
Look at me. I feel like that's cheating somehow,
Elite.
but we're going to let it go.
No, big
Nope.
time. Yeah, big time.
Nope. What?
What?
Damn, we just
All right.
we were so close with the 2000s that we just
Whole
couldn't get on it.
The whole time. Sexy Rexy was a throw pick.
Yeah.
I was like, what
That was
was
a throw
that?
pick. I
Actually
just
was
out
a
of
bad
names.
throw.
It almost got us there, though. It almost worked
I
out.
was relatively appalled to hear Rex Grossman's name get thrown out like the 6th round.
All right, brothers time. Let's see if they can figure it out. All right, we ready?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Nolan Ryan.
Oh Christ! All right, we both went
Okay,
Texas.
Yeah, I was about to say that's not horrible.
Okay.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Michael
Dirk
Finley.
Nowitzki.
Michael Finley.
Okay. Wait. Okay. Oh wait, no, shoot! I'm between two guys now.
No,
Okay.
you know who it is. You know
Okay.
who it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Steve Nash.
Yes. Let's go, baby.
I can't believe y'all both went Texas too. That's crazy.
Dude,
It works out for you because you're both Texas sports fans in
Ryan,
general.
I almost had Anton Jamison.
Oh,
Do not fucking say Antoine.
Yeah. Rafe LaFrance. What a bull right there.
We said Rafe LaFrance.
Sean
We would have
Brady.
a stroke.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was fun. There we go. That was the best one.
Three, count them 3.
Out of the 3. That's the record.
By far the best, yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to get into speaking of basketball and speaking of NBA players, we're going to get into some NBA and some basketball. A massive trade happening this past weekend. Damian Lillard, not to the Miami Heat, but in fact heading north, or I guess east. I guess not really. Yeah, a little north.
It's pretty much just east.
Yeah,
I mean,
but Damian Lillard teams up with Giannis Antetokounmpo on the Milwaukee Bucks. The details of this trade are as follows. Lillard goes to Milwaukee as part of a 3-team deal with Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, and a 2029 unprotected Milwaukee first and unprotected Milwaukee swap rights in 2028 and 2030 to the Blazers. Phoenix lands Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. So, I mean, I think a name that's getting lost in all of this is DeAndre Ayton is no longer a part of the Phoenix Suns, he's now on the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, the Suns giving him up to just build a bench. Like the whole point, they just needed some depth.
Well,
We talked about that numerous times.
Some disrespect to Yusuf Nurkic too. Like he's a very solid rebounding and defensive center, which actually might be really good for the Suns.
The Mavs would have loved to get fucking Nurkic.
Yep.
But obviously, this is a massive trade. Part of this. It's funny that we keep calling this era of basketball like a super team era, because I feel like you point to at least 10 teams in the league where at one point or another they were called a super team era, where it's now to the point where I just think that points to the wealth of talent in the league, where it's just there's so many guys in the NBA that are that good. I
feel like we've gotten away from the big threes though, and now it's a lot of duos, right? Like you have two really good guys. Like you have Kawhi and PG. You now have Damian Lillard and Giannis. I mean, it's like you get 2 guys now.
Middleton, because they kept Middleton, which is.
But I wouldn't. I mean, he's a really good player, but he's not on that superstar level. You have Anthony Davis, LeBron, like that type of level.
Yeah,
Middleton is always been top tier of very good.
Yes,
I think that with this trade, I was talking about this with my roommates last night. I think the biggest thing, the question mark from this trade, is the way that the Bucks play. Because Drew Holiday was obviously a massive part of that game plan, and with Drew Holiday, the Bucks were arguably the best defensive team in the league. Damian Lillard is not a very good defender. Yeah. And Damian Lillard is very much kind of an ISO player. He had to play with CJ for a little bit, but obviously even when CJ was there, he wasn't on the same level that Lillard was. So I think it'll be very interesting watching Damian Lillard adapt to this team. But I think they're just going to play a completely different style of basketball. With Damian Lillard not being a great defender, they can't play like how they did with Drew Holiday. So it's like they have a completely new game plan. They have a completely new system now with Damian Lillard. So I'm very interested to see how the Bucks play in this upcoming year.
But it gives Giannis like one of the elite shooters in the league now. Like he's had 100%. Some like Middleton's a pretty decent shooter. Like he's had Brook Lopez too. Like you now have like one of the top 5 best shooters in the league, and I don't think he's 4 or 5. Coming in to play with Giannis, give him space. And a guy that can play without the ball in his hands if he needs to as well. Obviously, Dame is great with the ball in his hands, but he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands to make a difference.
But yeah, I mean, as you guys obviously, the Blazers we'll talk about it with this next pick too. The Trailblazers kind of doing a decent effort in rebuilding when everyone said that the team had completely lost hope. I mean, they're making some good moves for the organization and what they need to do. And the Suns, like I said before, just getting a starting center and some really good bench pieces between Grayson Allen and Nasir Little. I mean, we talked about it earlier how much we thought this team was going to struggle with depth issues. I think they may have just solved it in one little sweep there, and they got Ayton off their books, which is what they were trying to do for a year. So I think it's a win-win for a lot of the teams here. And then the next trade we have to talk about, Drew Holiday was immediately flipped to the Boston Celtics. This was kind of in reports where it was like, yeah, he's going to the Trailblazers, but he's not going to stay there for long. So involving that trade, the Celtics have traded Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, a 2024 Golden State first rounder, and a 2029 unprotected Boston first to the Portland Trailblazers. So again, the Portland Trailblazers getting a hell of a haul back.
That is an insane haul for Drew Holiday.
Yes. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Put some respect on his name.
No, listen, he's a great player, but right.
Yeah, it's the Marcus Smart replacement, and they paid a bunch for it. And I would be shocked if I see Robert Williams actually make it past the trade deadline. I wouldn't be shocked if they try to deal him to a contender that needs like another big man or something to get him through.
They said for right now they want to add him to like their young core that they're going to build around. The Blazers came out today and said they plan on keeping him at least for the time being. But I mean, you have to. I mean, what are they going to do with Ayton and Robert Williams?
Right. That's my thought. I don't know who you keep. Kind of whoever fetches the highest bid, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. The Blazers, I mean, outside of that, obviously, I think a hell of a job there. I think that obviously I would probably agree. I mean, Drew Holiday, honest to God, is one of my favorite players. He has been one of my favorite players just through the way he plays. And, he's the kind of guy where he's a very good player, but he keeps his mouth shut. And I've always kind of respected that. But I think obviously.
Sorry, keep going.
No, so I think obviously that's a sign from the Boston Celtics that we're trying to win now, and we're going to give up whatever we need to do to win now. So I mean, I can't, even though that it's a big hole, I can't say that it's a bad move on the part of the Boston Celtics.
Sure.
I think I'm really interested to see how the Celtics do with their interior defense. Robert Williams was definitely like the anchor to that defense, and just with KP being there, they lose some rim protection. They lose some of that nitty gritty. But I think if you're a Blazers fan, right, you had Dame, who was not interested in playing another year for you. I don't think you can ask for this deal to go any better for you.
No.
Yep. I think Blazers fan, you're like, shit, man. We have now all of a sudden we have a little bit of a young core.
Hope.
we have a 2 to 3 year rebuild, depending on how well these draft picks go. It might be even quicker than that, and then we're back in. So. And
it's how good Scoot Henderson is, right? I mean, he's the guy that they're going to be building around. I mean, we're also glossing over the fact that the Celtics traded away the sixth man of the year last year, Malcolm Brogdon. Had a fantastic year. So, I mean, now as you're looking at the Celtics.
It was a lot to give for Drew. Yeah, I mean, the Celtics better win something, or this is going to be like what was that trade kind of thing.
Yep.
It's funny how the Damian Lillard narrative has shifted over the past 3 years, because I feel like 3 years ago, and I'm talking about specifically about Portland Trailblazers fans, I feel like if you was around 3 years ago, basically all the Trailblazers were like they wanted Damian Lillard to get out because they wanted him to go win somewhere, and they wanted him to go be successful somewhere else. They knew that Portland wasn't going to do much with him, especially after they lost McCollum. They were like, you got to go because you're not doing anything here. Whereas like this past year, I started to feel like it was a little bit of the turn of the tide, where it's like, hey Dame, can you leave now? Because we have to start rebuilding, and you aren't a part of that process. And I think fans started to feel stuck because the front office didn't really want to trade him. And I think it became a little bit of a battle there. But obviously, as Ryan said, I think this is the most positive outcome for probably everybody involved.
Except for the Miami Heat, but
Heat fans punching air.
So much. I saw so much coping from Heat fans, just so much coping.
They love to do that.
So yeah, I mean that is, and then one more thing on the NBA, just because I saw it on TikTok this past week and I wanted to talk about it. Patrick Beverley, so he has a podcast, and he's actually pretty entertaining on it. But he has a podcast, and I saw a clip of it on TikTok to where he was talking about who he thought was going to be in the playoff picture for the Eastern Conference in this upcoming year, and he believed that the Brooklyn Nets would be the 4th seed in the playoffs this upcoming year.
All right, well, let's do some math here, right? They're not beating the Celtics or the Bucks. It's just simply not happening.
Yeah.
So you're saying they have to be better than either The Heat or the Sixers?
Yeah.
They have to be better than one of those teams.
Uh-huh. The Sixers team that killed them in the playoffs last year.
That's correct. I mean, I think the Nets
and the Heat team that just went to the finals this past year.
Yep.
So where are we getting and does he remember this? Did he forget that the Cavs were a 4 seed last year?
I was about to say, and you have a really young, like hungry Cavs team that blew everyone's expectations out of the water.
Where are the Nets the 4 seed?
They could be better than the Knicks, maybe.
For
I
sure.
mean, the Knicks could fuck around and lose. Like
if you say the Nets will make the playoffs and avoid the play-in, absolutely, I'm all in on that. I could definitely see that happening. But
I'm excited. Yeah, I know. I'm excited to do. Obviously, we're not going to do it quite yet because it's not immediately around the corner. But I'm excited to do the kind of deep dive podcast into the NBA because I think a lot of the teams are really interesting this year. So yeah, I mean that is it for the.
And a couple of other NBA news: the Bucks did side campaign to a vet minimum deal, and vet. Reggie Bullock is available after the Spurs.
Cut him.
They bought out his contract. He could sign with anybody but the Mavs. So that's
a weird cut.
Yeah, it is. It was more because he was expected to make his contract said he would have made $10.5 million, which is definitely steep for him. As a player, so I'm sure he will go and sign a smaller vet deal with a contender. But that's what I got.
So yeah, we're gonna move on to something else really quick. I saw this guy on Twitter. And you know how people do like their percentage X. You know how people do their like percentage hot takes, like 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, and it gets hotter and hotter as it goes up. So some of these were kind of interesting, and I wanted to read them out to you. So we're going to go 10% here. He says, these are all NFL and NBA related. He says 10%, LeBron and MJ are the consensus basketball players of all time. Greatest of all time. I don't think that is...
much of a discussion anymore.
Very mild take there.
I'm shocked that this is at 20%, to be completely honest. If Brooklyn won a chip in 2021, Kevin Durant would be top 10 all time.
I don't think that's super hot either.
Do you think he'd be top 10 all time?
I don't think he would.
I mean, don't know if he would.
You got to keep in mind he's still playing too.
Right.
Yeah. But have the last 2 years, like the last 2 years in my eyes, haven't really done anything for his legacy.
For sure. But that would also give him 3 championships as one of the best just pure scorers.
1 championship.
Didn't they win 2? That's right.
No.
Warriors. You're not counting those?
Yeah.
You're just not counting those? Okay. All right.
Those are Steph's rings. Those aren't KD's rings.
Okay. Fair enough.
Even though KD won the finals MVPs. 30% here. The Eagles, 49ers, and the Cowboys are the only teams in the NFC who will be able to make the Super Bowl.
Correct.
This year.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
A little bit disrespect to the Lions. So we're going to talk about how they played on Thursday night.
The Lions are literally the next tier down, and they're the leaders of the next tier down.
Yep.
Yeah. 40%. Steph Curry has a top 3 offensive peak of all time. I probably agree with you.
He won a unanimous MVP.
I know.
He won a unanimous MVP.
These are really out of order on his.
I was thinking about, we had the discussion about KD last week with small forwards, and I was thinking when we were talking about the Dame trade, I was thinking about Dame in terms of like point guards. Like obviously Dame is not going to be up there for the greatest point guards of all time, but Dame has been a really, really good point guard for a long time and has never even sniffed being the best point guard in the league due to Steph Curry existing and also Kyrie as well.
Yep.
Also the fact that he's had Dick All for help.
Right.
Like Steph has played with some, I'm going to call, I don't know if they're necessarily generational talent like in Clay and Draymond, but generational in terms of like team cohesion and coaching and things just working at the right
and
time.
And also had Kevin Durant at his peak, right? Like,
I mean, also
Dame
like
at
his
bum ass CJ McCollum.
Yeah. I mean, also at his peak, you could argue that Clay was the best spot-up shooter of all time at his peak. He was there with Allen and Miller. Like it wasn't.
All time is a bit creamy, but like he's definitely up there.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's in the conversation. Like
for sure. Yeah.
The whole 60 points on 13 dribbles. That's obscene. Like you shouldn't be able to do that.
That was pretty fucking nuts.
That was crazy.
My guy had the biggest green light of all green lights that game. Just shooting.
It was like It was like Michael Porter never swing the rock Jr. Like it was.
Yeah, right.
That was it was.
Do not make the extra pass.
It was Peter Griffin in the corner for 3 Family Guy skit. Call on a 3.
Corner 3, yeah, literally. 50%. Ravens are going to be a top 2 seed in the AFC.
That is spicy.
Spicy, way spicier than 50%. Yeah, way spicier than 50%. Although the Bengals have looked fucking
I'm not counting
awful.
The Bengals.
We'll talk about it the next
Bengals
one.
might miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
they got to rest Joe Burrow, and they need things to happen. But they look like shit.
60% Bengals will miss the playoffs. 60% hot.
It's actually. I don't think that's that hot. They lost to the Titans 27-3 today.
They got shit on.
Yeah, it's looking terrible.
Yeah.
70%. Steph Curry is ranked higher than Kobe Bryant all time. I agree with that take.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like that.
I agree with that. I firmly agree with that at this point.
I can't.
That's why I might need to have a segment on the next podcast.
I cannot firmly, because Kobe also had just an insane peak when he was like scoring the ball at will, like up there. I mean, we're talking about best offensive peaks of all time. Like Kobe is definitely up there for the best offensive peak ever. So I think that's
when Kobe played with Shaq. Was that player better than when Steph played with Durant?
The Steph was better with Durant than Kobe was when he was with Shaq, because that was still so early in Kobe's career.
No, you're asking if KD or Shaq was better at the point.
Shaq, yeah.
Shaq was more. Shaq just nobody who was guarding. I mean, same. You could say the same thing about KD because it's different, but like you give the ball to Shaq and he dunks it. Like there's no.
But Shaq was like controlling it on both ends of the floor too.
Yeah.
All right.
Good luck going in the paint. Like
top 2 number 1 scorer in the world, and then tweeting on the defensive end.
Yeah. Literally.
80%. The 2010's 5 best. He's talking about basketball. Would beat any era's 5 best. So if you got all the 5 best players from the 2010s would beat any other era's 5 best players.
Do not let the 80s players see that, because they will lose their shit.
I mean, it would. That would be. We could have another segment about that.
Especially in the NBA, is so hard. The game is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. You couldn't even play. You couldn't even play zone defense at certain points. Like,
yeah,
the comparison is so hard.
People don't realize, and I think it's a testament to how good of a shooter he was. Larry Bird didn't have the 3-point line until his first year in the pros. Like in college, he didn't have a 3-point line. So it's like that's crazy that he was that good of a shooter at that point. 90%. Here we get into the last 2. This one's kind of fun. We could literally have segments on these individually. 2004 Kobe was a bigger choke job than 2011 LeBron against the Pistons or against the Mavericks. So Kobe against the Pistons, LeBron against the Mavericks, because LeBron played like weenie against the Mavs.
I'm be honest, I don't have enough memory of 2004 Kobe to like accurately give any type of take on that.
I pulled up some stats and I was kind of looking at it and I was like, yeah, it's he shot 17% from 3 isn't ideal in a series. In a final series. I mean, yeah, I'd have to look at that one a little closer.
Made it to back-to-back championships, didn't they?
Yes.
They went back the next year. Or
also, a couple of the best defensive teams,
right?
Especially the 2000s, at least.
I mean, Ben Wallace,
really good defensively.
Rich Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. Those are some dogs.
The
Mavs was Dirk on the tail end of his prime and washed up all-stars.
Whoa. Jason Terry.
Whoa.
Okay, Jason Terry had Jet had the best playoffs and best 4 weeks of his career.
Tyson Depoy, or should have been Depoy Tyson Chandler.
Hey, I know, but I'm talking about Kid and Marion way past their prime.
Marion locked up Braun. JJ Barea.
No, Jet locked up Braun. Come on now.
I love how everyone says that. They're like, yeah, Terry locked up. No, he didn't. Sean Marion was on LeBron most of the time. And then the last one, he has 100. It's kind of funny that this was 100%. The Bucks will not win the 2024 NBA Finals. Obviously saying that in reference to right after the Damian Lillard trade.
There's a lot of good teams in the NBA. I would not consider the Bucks to be a lock there. I would be pretty surprised.
They have to all change the way they play. I mean,
exactly.
Dame has never played with this kind of supporting cast, and now Giannis is going to have to do so much more on defense, and it's going to be interesting.
Anything short of the NBA Finals will 100% be a disappointment for the Milwaukee Bucks. But I don't know that
about
like
5 or 6 teams.
Sure.
But yeah, no, 100%. It'll be interesting. So we're going to move on from that. That's a little fun. Yeah, Ryan's right. You might have to have a segment on one of those
Kobe Steph
individually.
one had me grinning.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's one to make people upset.
Yeah, 100%. So we're going to get into the NFL week review. We're going to do our best with this because the week is not over yet. We're recording this on a Sunday night, and the Chiefs and Jets are actually currently playing. And there's obviously are there 2 games tomorrow night?
Just one.
Just one.
It's
God.
just
I
the
hate
Giants and Seahawks.
2 Monday night games. I
kind of like to
stand it.
get the dual screen
I
up.
don't
Just
like
watch both of them.
So just too many days of football's on. We need to have dedicated. I'm an old head here.
Nope.
I'm an old head.
Give me football Monday through Sunday, man. I'm all in. I'm there for that.
But yeah, to go through some of the games that happened today and this past week, the Cowboys handedly taking care of the New England Patriots in a 38-3 matchup.
Cowboys either beat the piss out of whoever they're playing, or if the team they're playing, they are favored to win by 10 or more points, they choke.
I'm sorry, Ryan. Ryan, what
yeah, we have to go back to week 3. We only have to mention one game.
Yeah,
we do have to mention one.
What happened week 3?
The Arizona Cardinals beating the Dallas Cowboys after our fantastic co-host here predicted that the Cardinals would go winless this year. And not only did they not go winless, they managed to get their maybe one and only win against his favorite team.
Boys!
Against his favorite team.
You do realize they're not going to win another game the rest of the season, right? You realize that the Cowboys are going to be the only ones.
You're goddamn right.
God, I hate you. Of course it happened.
That was I remember I literally mentioned on the podcast, like, that'd be funny if that happened. Like, not thinking there's any chance in hell. But James Conner kind of gave it to you guys for real.
Yeah, a little bit.
Dude, the other 3 games, I'm looking at how many points. The Cowboys are 108-13. Point differential in the other 3 games.
I hate to break it to you, but even if you win the divisional round 40-0, it doesn't matter because you still have to win the championship. So,
thank you to the 0-4 Panthers.
Why you have to bring the Panthers in? I didn't say we're gonna do shit this year. I don't know why you gotta bring the Panthers into it. It just hurts.
We're rebuilding.
The Jaguars defeating the Falcons 23-7 in a horrid performance from Desmond Ritter.
He's so bad.
He was
so
terrible.
bad. Also, we have to talk about
apologized after the game. He literally said, "I was so bad."
We also have to talk about the Toy Story podcast or the Toy Story broadcast. That shit was ass, dude. It was so bad.
Have you ever turned on like the Nickelodeon ones where it's like the slime? It's terrible.
No, this one made the Nickelodeon one look good because that at least shows the football game. They were trying to animate the game as it was happening, and like half the time it would just glitch out, and you'd just be watching from the sideline where you couldn't see anything. It was so bad.
That sounds terrible.
Who greenlit that? Who thought that would have?
I can guarantee you that's going to be the only time that ever happens because it was so bad.
I mean, the processing power to be able to do that is, that's like obscene. Moving on here, the Bills hanging 48 on the Dolphins, who just put up a 70-piece.
Mahomes just threw another pick.
3 on the night? Jesus Christ.
There's a flag down, so please hold. I think it's pass interference.
Worst game of Mahomes' career.
For real.
Zach Wilson, his daddy.
He's looked really bad tonight.
And then in the if you want to call it, we can call it the game of the weekend. The Broncos and Bears. With the Broncos sneaking out a victory there, 31-28.
Who wants to lose it more? Bowl of the week.
They're so bad.
Shout out Russ. I started Russ Day in fantasy and he kind of cooked. So shout out.
Don't say shout out Russ.
It's Russ Wilson time, fellas.
The
Kenny Pickett looks horrendous. Just want to throw that out there.
We have not talked about the Steelers, but okay. So moving on to the next thing here. The Ravens beating the Browns 28-3, man. The Browns without Nick Chubb are bad.
And without Deshaun Watson today, too.
Yeah, without Deshaun. But I mean, it's not like Deshaun has done much this season, to be completely honest. But
Dorian Thompson-Robinson threw 3 picks. So
the division that we all thought would be so competitive is just turned into a roiling dumpster fire.
Yeah. It's just the Ravens. It's literally just the Ravens,
who potentially are bad enough that they would lose like first round, like wild card game, depending on who they draw.
Yeah,
like if they get Miami like round 1 or something like that.
They division. Yeah, because I mean, if they get the Dolphins or the Bills in the first round, they're done.
Yeah. The Houston Texans getting another win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, 30-6. The Pittsburgh Steelers making their case for being one of the worst teams in the league as well.
Dude, they need to fire the offensive coordinator into the fucking sun.
Matt Canada is so bad. So bad.
I don't know why they keep him around.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out Najee, though. Averaged 5.1 yards per carry today.
There you go.
That's way better than he's been doing. So.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the AFC South, what a division. All the teams sitting at 2-2, baby. It's exciting.
Can't expect anything else from the AFC South. I mean, that's just, if you don't like that, you don't like AFC South football.
Like I said, the Colts, even though they lost to the Rams today, they were down 20-0. They came back, gave the Rams a little run for their money. Anthony Richardson looking decent.
So as Ryan said, the Rams defeating the Colts 29-23 in an overtime game there. Unfortunately, Robbie's Panthers did suffer a loss at the hands of the winless Minnesota Vikings, who finally picked up their first win today. How's that one feeling, Robbie?
I didn't watch any of it, so I have no thoughts. I don't think this game actually happened. Also, your boy Kirk went absolutely mild today.
You mean my top 10 quarterback, Kirk Cousins?
12 of 19 for 139 yards. 2 tutties, though. 2 tutties.
Yeah. Hey, all I'll say
finally got a tutty.
is that before the game started this weekend, Kirk Cousins was on the top of the league for both passing yards and passing touchdowns. So suck my nads.
That's fair. It's fair enough.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I had no thoughts on the Panthers game. I didn't watch it because I just had a feeling we were going to lose, and we did.
After week 4, we got 2 teams that are winless, and currently 2 teams that are undefeated. The Kansas City Chiefs obviously are 2-1. They could go to 2-2 tonight at the hands of the Jets, which would be actually bonkers.
Hilarious, yeah.
Would laugh. Would enjoy myself.
And then getting to some of the final games here, the Bucks beating the Saints 26-9. The Bucks continuing a little bit of a winning season here, gentlemen, with Baker Mayfield at the helm.
Saints look like shit.
Yeah,
Saints. They got Kamara back, and they still didn't score a touchdown.
I mean, he played well, but I mean, outside of that, yeah, they did not do much. The Commanders taking the Eagles into an overtime game where the Eagles won by 3 points. So that was
Commanders are spooky.
Sam Howell are in fact
spooky. Yeah.
AJ Brown cooked respectfully.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
2 straight weeks after the whole scuffle with Jalen Hurts on the sideline, all of a sudden AJ Brown's the number 1 receiver in back-to-back weeks in fantasy.
Yeah. Continuing to be the most shocking, disappointing team in the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals lost to the Tennessee Titans 27-3. I didn't know it's possible for the Titans to score 27 points, if I'm being completely honest.
The Bengals are in fact that bad. They are.
Derrick Henry threw for more touchdowns than Joe Burrow. Just let that sink in.
That's crazy. That's a great stat.
Thank you.
That's clip. We're clipping.
I cooked it up. I cooked it up myself.
That's a great stat.
Holy crap!
Derrick Henry heard all the shit being talked about him, that his legs might be a little washed, and he went for 122 yards at 5.5 yards a carry, and threw for 1 too. Because fuck it, why not?
Yeah, we ever since Ryan, I remember we were so hopeful. Ryan moving to Cincinnati, we were like, the Bengals really good last year. The Reds were on a little bit of a win streak, and then all of a sudden, like it just fell apart.
The wheels fall off the wagon.
Do they sit Burrow? I mean,
you got to let him rest up, right?
He's
his
hurt.
calf, man. I don't know.
It's the same thing like 2 years ago whenever Baker was playing on the Browns and everyone knew he was hurt, but they still wouldn't sit him, and he suffered long-term for it. So it's like, I hope that the Bengals make a better decision.
So the Bengals, in terms of like looking at their schedule right now, they got the Cardinals next week, right? So they have a potential to right the ship. Then they're home against the Seahawks, and then it's back-to-back weeks against the 49ers and the Bills. Like, they have to be healthy.
Yeah,
they
have
you
to
rest. I feel like you almost. I mean, but the problem is that now you're 1-3. You almost can't
Yeah,
rest.
you have
Burrow,
to win.
You can't afford to keep losing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though he's looked awful. So it's because he's hurt. Last
You
few
got
games
Jake
here.
Browning that can right the ship for the
For sure, yeah.
The Chargers beating the Raiders 24-17. Not much to say.
Raiders suck.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a boring game.
They also started Aiden O'Connell at quarterback because Garoppolo was hurt. So and still put up 17.
What was wrong with Garoppolo?
I don't fucking know. Cool. The hair gel, like I have no idea.
He's so handsome.
He's so handsome.
The 49ers beating the Cardinals 35-16. I will continue to say it. The 49ers to me are Super Bowl winners. Like they're the only teams.
Nice CMC trade, by the way.
What, me?
Oh, I'm talking to Robbie. I'm just chirping him.
You traded CMC?
No, not in
the
fantasy.
Panthers.
The Panthers.
Oh, sorry. I was like, what? I thought you meant in fantasy. Sorry.
Like I said, that one still hurts way more than DJ Moore. Everyone was upset we traded
Yeah.
DJ Moore. The fact that we traded away CMC was just dumb. It was. I just don't get it. We just didn't get enough for him either.
Yep. And then forgot to mention this, but this past Thursday night, Ryan kind of mentioned it earlier. The Detroit Lions defeating the Green Bay Packers 34-20. Was there something that you gentlemen wanted to state about the Detroit Lions?
The fuck are we doing with David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs?
Dude,
Purely from a fantasy perspective.
But if you're the Lions, who
played
cares?
well.
Yeah, I mean the Lions are winning playing this way. They're not going to change it.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
It's crazy.
I know people are pissed.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to the Lions, man. They are. I obviously we came into this year and a lot of us were kind of downers on the thought. Everyone came into this year was like, "Oh, the Lions are going to be great. Lions are going to be great." And we were like, "No, the Vikings are still in control of that division. Like, there's no chance." And I mean, the Lions have proved it so far. They really have taken a step up. And even though that Jameer Gibbs doesn't play it as much, like I still think when he comes in, he's essential to that team.
And I think that's what they're using him as, is like a decoy, or just like, when you need a spark, put Jameer Gibbs in and let him make a play. I don't think he's going to get over 20 touches a game or anything. No, he's not right now.
Jared Goff just casually being a top 10 quarterback. What?
Everyone saw that coming.
You're gonna make one of my friends so excited that you just said that. He's the biggest Lions fan in the world. So I get we can preview the Monday night game if we want to real quick. So it's the Seattle Seahawks visiting the New York Giants.
I'll tell you what, I have no interest in watching this game. I probably will, but I just have literally no interest in watching.
I have Saquon in the fantasy league.
Oh, I'll get to watch it in Spanish tomorrow. That's lit.
Espanol.
Seahawks favored by 1.5.
The hotel only gets ESPN in terms of sports channels, but it's obviously in Spanish. So I'll get to watch the entire broadcast in Spanish tomorrow night. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Giants don't have Saquon. I imagine.
That's right. He's doubtful. I forgot about that.
The Seahawks win this. Well, anyways.
Yeah, let's move into the preview of this next week. We're just going to cover the games that we think are we like the spreads in and the over under here. A few of these lines are not up, at least on ESPN they are not up. But I would take some of these lines that are not up because I can kind of guess what I think they'd be around. But an interesting game to kind of point out. I think probably the biggest game of this upcoming weekend, the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. That is a hell of a matchup, especially for the NFC. That kind of point to who we think may win here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a team that got a little, it's kind of a high line, but I'm going to take a team that got a little embarrassed today, just purely from a scoring perspective. And I'm going to say that they come back and they cook respectfully. And I think it might be the biggest line of the weekend, but I'm going to take it. And I'm going to say that the Miami Dolphins cover 9.5 against the New York Giants. I think they come back with being pissed off. I think they come back with a vengeance, and I think Daniel Jones is on the receiving end of a butt whooping.
Butt whooping, damn.
Butt whooping.
He said it.
For real.
He said it here first.
There you go. Another 70 piece.
Damn, that'd be crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going to take two teams. One is heading in the absolute wrong direction. The other, a young team appearing to be heading in the right direction, led by their rookie quarterback. The Falcons are favored by 2.5 at home against the Texans next week. I think the Texans just win this game outright. So I like the Texans at plus 2.5.
Ryan, what we got?
Well, I'll hit the snake here. I'll give you the line I like, and I'll give you the over under that I want to take. Jags and Bills. Jags are back over in London. I think the Bills are scorching at the moment. Only a 5.5 points for the Bills. I think they cover that with ease. Usually the Jags actually pull a good amount of fans over in London because they seem to be the ones that are always playing over there. I think the Bills are red hot and hot at this moment. They will win that game. And one that I will just be absolutely smashing the under on is Bengals Cardinals is sitting at 43 points right now.
Oh,
I can't imagine that game gets to 43 with the way these teams are playing, especially if Burrow doesn't go. If they're, God knows what that whole situation is right now. I think 43 is a whole lot of points for both of those jokers. So I'm going to take the under on that.
I'm going to take an over because overs are way more fun than unders. The Eagles and Rams sitting at 47. It feels like that could be a little bit of a shootout to me. I don't think either of their defenses are playing overly well at the moment. I mean, the Eagles just gave up 28 to the Commanders. Rams offense might have Cooper Kupp back next week as well, and offense is already playing pretty well. I like over 47 there.
I like that pick. That's a good pick.
I got one here that I'm kind of eyeing, and I think it's kind of a gross game, if I'm being completely honest.
Sicko game, if you will.
Sicko game of the week.
Both these teams are 2-2. And both these teams came into the season with little to no expectation. It's the Tennessee Titans versus the Indianapolis Colts. As we stated previously, Anthony Richardson has looked much better than I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people coming into the league this year, they thought he was a really raw talent and that he wouldn't be nearly as refined as I think he has ended up being. Obviously, the Colts know how to use him and his skill set and his ability, especially with his legs in terms of their game plan and stuff. And they've crafted their offense around that. And I think they've actually done a very good job of that. The line's at 41.5, and I'm still debating in my head whether I want to take the over or the under, to be completely honest. You know what? And it looks like these teams for the last 5 games, both of them have scored like 25, around 25 each game. We're going to go with the over there. And usually I think I would go with the under, but just to mix it up a little bit, the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts, it'll be a shootout next weekend. I bet you wouldn't have predicted that coming into this season, huh? You wouldn't have thought that.
Probably not. Yeah.
That one.
So yeah, we're going to move on from football here, and we are going to get into a little bit of baseball action. As Ryan said earlier in this podcast, the October area is the best time for sports, and especially as it relates to playoff baseball. The MLB is coming to an end here in terms of the regular season, and there have been some things that have heated up the playoff hunt and the playoff race. So we're going to swing it over to Ryan to hear what's going on in the world of the MLB.
I'm sad. You want to know why I'm sad?
Why is that, Ryan?
Because the Rangers.
Yeah.
Did not win the division.
They did not win.
They lost 1-0 to the Mariners tonight. 1-0. All you had to do was score 2 runs.
Uno,
we decided
all you need
to score 0. All right, let's get into this. Starting with the American League, as we have usually done on this podcast, we start with the American League East. Shout out to your AL East winning Baltimore Orioles with an AL best record of 101-61, an absolutely stunning performance out of them on the regular season. The thing that blows me away the most about them is their away record of 52-29. They're actually phenomenal away from Baltimore. Could be really interesting to see how that plays out in the playoffs. The Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays both make wild card spots, which means 3 out of the 5 teams in this division make the playoffs, with your New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox both missing out on the playoffs. Shit you love to see. Moving over to the AL Central, Minnesota Twins have had the division wrapped up for a while, finishing with an 87-75 record themselves. Nobody else in that division is worth a shit. Over to the AL West, the Houston Astros took the division right out from under the Texas Rangers tonight, rocking a 4-game winning streak to close the season. Both the teams ended at 90-72, with the Astros holding the tiebreaker over the Rangers for head-to-head games played this year. Seattle Mariners, 88-74, missing out by 2 games. Great season to them. If their season was just based on their post-All-Star break, they would have been one of the best teams in baseball, but fortunately they got started a little too late. Over to the National League, league-leading Atlanta Braves ending the season at 104-58 with 950 runs scored on the season. There have been absolute juggernauts. Definitely the favorite to come out of the NL.
Tied the record for most home runs in a season, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's been crazy. I think a lot of people expect them to go very far into the playoffs. Your Philadelphia Phillies and Miami Marlins actually managed to scoop up wild cards. So both of the Eastern divisions in the respective, I'll call them conferences, I guess, for right now, but managed to send 3 teams to the playoffs. New York Mets and Washington Nationals both on the outside looking in there. In the NL Central, Milwaukee Brewers come out 92-70. The Cubs and Reds kind of imploded down the line. And then out west,
You got the Dodgers and you got the Diamondbacks winning the division and being a wild card team, respectively. So, how does the playoff picture look with all the games ending today? That's a good question. I think all the games have just actually like wrapped up. So you have Texas at Tampa Bay. These all start October 3rd, Tuesday. Texas at Tampa Bay, 3 p.m. pitch. Toronto at Minnesota.
That's
a
tough
draw
for the Rangers.
Texas.
Yeah.
Tough bowl for Texas. Toronto at Minnesota. Diamondbacks at the Brewers, and Miami at the Phillies. Should be a lot of fun. Now I'm trying to remember. These are 5-game series or are these 3-game series? Yeah, 3-game series. There you go. Glad I can give you that to you guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
And then the ALDS starts October 7th on Saturday with the Orioles, Astros, Braves, and Dodgers like all hosting games on the 7th. There you go.
Lovely. Where are we thinking? Are your World Series predictions still? Are you guys still going to stick firm to your World Series predictions? I know you guys you both had said the Braves, and then you said you guys differed on the AL.
I said the Astros.
That's right.
I don't remember who I said.
I can't. You said someone. You said I can't remember who it was either. Actually, I gave you Orioles and Dodgers. So you
did.
It's a fun matchup. Come on, you know you want it to happen. I mean, obviously we want the Rangers, but yeah, outside of that,
I think I might have said the Mariners, who were not going to make the playoffs. That might have been who I said.
That's
a
tough.
tough scene. That's a tough scene.
That's not a great look, Rob.
That is a tough scene. I think Braves are still the best team in the NL, and obviously the best team in baseball. I don't think anybody at the AL East actually gets there. Personally, I still think it's potentially the Astros because I think they're hot again at the right time, even though the Rangers have been playing well. I think the Rangers do somehow make it out against the Rays, and then potentially run into the buzzsaw of Houston.
Yeah,
that has their number from the regular season. So should be a lot of fun. Actually, the Rangers right now, according to a lot of these statistical sites, hold the best record to come out of the AL.
There you go.
Yeah, so should be interesting.
Something. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for going through that. I have another headline for you real quick. The New York Liberty will be taking on the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA Finals starting October 8th. I think the Liberty just ended their series. I believe it was with the Connecticut Sun, if I'm not mistaken.
The two best teams in the WNBA, I believe, as well.
Yes, like they're both dynasties, and yeah, very much so. I think both of them have won numerous championships in the last few years. So it's kind of like the Cleveland Cavs, Golden State Warriors era of the WNBA, if you will. So yeah, we got that going on, and then we're probably, just because we're running a little high on time, probably just going to skip the tiers. But I did want to end with this discussion and this conversation is with the acquisition of Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Is Giannis and Damian Lillard the best duo in the NBA? If you look at it from a player perspective of not necessarily, they play together the best. If you look at it from like how good you think the players are, do you think they're the best duos in the NBA? I can give you some names of the other ones if you guys need a quick refresher. So I'll give you Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray are obviously up there.
Yep.
I'll give you Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are obviously in that conversation.
Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving.
LeBron AD.
LeBron AD. I mean, I guess you could maybe, or Embiid Harden, but I don't think Harden's up there anymore. Maybe you could say Steph, Clay, but Clay's fallen off. And even though Steph has remained to be as good as he is, I mean, I think maybe if you look at it purely from like a skill,
it's up there. I think there's a pretty good chance. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think. Obviously, at the moment, I still believe, and I think he got robbed, but obviously it was voter fatigue. I still think Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player in the world, and obviously that brings you up a step in terms of when you're comparing duos. And Jamal Murray is obviously an incredible player, but I mean, as Robbie said, even though Damian Lillard has been behind Steph Curry's whole career and probably Kyrie Irving for a substantial amount of it, I mean, he's still a consistent top 3, top 5 point guard, and obviously Giannis is a top 3 player in the league for the past 5-6 years now, or not 6, probably like 4 or 5. But yeah, so I think you could definitely argue that. But I think that is going to be it from us. Next week we're going to bring you a tier list and a bracket. How about that, Robbie?
Oh, there you go.
We'll
come back on the football a little bit. We'll do some highlights, and then we'll get into some other things.
100%. But yeah, we still need to plan our live stream that we're going to do for our 100 subscribers.
We will do that this week.
We're doing
that maybe when Robbie gets back. No, I'm saying we'll plan it this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Well, I mean, I couldn't do it this weekend because K-State on Friday. Like having a Friday game is kind of tough too.
Maybe the next weekend.
We will let you guys know what we're going to do there with the live stream with the 100 subscriber special. But who wants to sign us out?
I can do it. For myself, Ryan, Connor, thank you so much for listening. Please go like, subscribe, interact, all of those great things that you can do on social media. Hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever time it may be, and please gamble responsibly.
Please like and subscribe.